Hello, Literature and Composition 2. This is a verbal explanation of what we're going to do in Lesson 5 of Unit 3. So here our objective is still to determine the meaning of words and phrases as they're used in the text. We are continuing to use our poetry packet, so the poems that were available to you. If you'd like to find poems on your own and you want to dabble outside of the ones that I've provided for you, that's absolutely fine. We're going to analyze the impact of specific word choices on meaning and tone, including words with multiple meanings or language that is particularly fresh, engaging, or beautiful. So first things first is you're going to do your do now. The do now question is, what is a time in history that you can identify when an injustice was done? So when was something unjust? That can be recent history, or that can be, in the 1800s if you'd like. What words would you use to define that injustice, and why would you choose those words? So after you've thought of the injustice, you put the words here. So 1 word, 2 words, 3 words. So for instance, if I was talking about segregation, right? And my first word that comes to mind is cruel. Why did cruel come to mind? Because it is cruel to treat one human differently than another. Right? So that would be my explanation of why I chose that word. So here you're choosing 3 words that come to mind when you think of that injustice. And where it says why, you're giving me the explanation of why did you choose those words? Why are they applicable to the injustice that you were thinking of? All right, because we need to start being able to take our reading skills, which is the connotation of words, right? The meaning that the words have and the overall impact on the text and tone. And we're going to connect them with the injustice paper that we're going to embark on later in the Merkin period. So for a mini lesson, because some of you are only going to be asynchronous since we had Monday off, we are going to watch the YouTube video. These are both things that we've talked about before previously in Marking Period 1. Connotation and denotation we talked about when we talked about word choice, right? And we've been talking about tone quite often. So this should be a refresher for you. So watch the video, and then underneath you explain, how do you believe words relate to tone? So it says, so what do you think? How do words influence or play a role in developing tone? Based on what you know already from previous lessons, based on your prior knowledge you already came with, as well as this video, tell me, what influence do words have, or what role do they play in developing the tone here? Then we're jumping into independent practice today. So for independent practice, you're going to finish analyzing 2 more poems, excuse me. I think I didn't get rid of the 3rd one yet. I apologize. Let me do that now while we're here, so I don't forget. So you're going to analyze 2 more poems from the poetry packet provided. Again, if you want to go outside of that poetry packet, feel free. If you have other poems of interest to you, that's absolutely fine. All right, but we're focusing on the diction, so the words that are used, and the relationship to tone and meaning. Finally, after you've analyzed 2 more, and this, you should be familiar with this format, but if not, you give me the name of the poem, you tell me what you believe the tone was, an example of a word or phrase that helped you get to that tone, the overall meaning of the poem, how did those words help you to understand the tone and the meaning, and then how would it be different if different words were chosen for that word, right? Just like we were talking about connotation of home versus house. Those are differently connotated. So how would the poem be changed if that word didn't exist or that word was changed in it? So you do that for 2 poems. Then let's scroll down to the assessment. So now that you have analyzed a total of 5 poems, choose 1 poem and create a 1-page write-up as to the importance of 3 key words within the poem, how it would have been altered if other words were chosen, and how it shaped the overall tone and meaning of the poem. So here's what you're doing. You're diving back into a poem you've already analyzed. So you've already done the first bit of legwork, okay? You're going to tell us the title and author of the poem. We need to know what poem you're looking at. You're going to identify 3 keywords. So you've only been asked to do 1 word so far, but you're diving back in for that closer reading. So now what are 3 key words that were super important to that poem? Explain the relationship that the words have on the overall tone and meaning of the poem. How did those words help you to understand the tone and the overall message behind the poem? Explain how it would have been different. If those words weren't there, how would the tone have been different, or how would the meaning of the poem have changed, right? And why was it important to have those words specifically? How solidify their importance? Tell me, why were those words important to the overall meaning and tone of the poem? Okay. Again, you can use one you've already analyzed. You can use one on your own that you find, that's okay. Or you can use Phenomenal Woman that I used for the modeling experience previously. But that's what you're going to do today. So your do now is words that come to mind when you think of a certain injustice, and why do those words come to mind? Mini lesson, watch the video and tell me, what do you think? How do words influence tone? Independent practice, analyze 2 more poems. And then for your assessment, dig deeper into one of those poems, either from today or a previous class, and tell me 3 keywords that got to the tone and meaning of the poem. How would it have been different if those were changed? And why are those words so important? Let me know if you have any questions. Even if you're on the asynchronous day, I'm still available for support.